Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world that has pitched at Birmingham Southern when it was a college. I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman. Where have you all been?
Oh, yes. Get ready for some pretty obnoxious gatekeeping at the end of this podcast.
That's just what we do here. That's what we do here.
This will be the one time we play our card where we are we're just better than everybody else because
you can't sit with us.
You can't. Oh, whoa, Birmingham Southern. Whoa, what a crazy Okay, we're half kidding. We're going to talk about the Birmingham Southern story at the end of this episode of Baseball Barbacast, but we have many a Major League Baseball topic to get to before then. This is a Memorial Day edition. Sometimes we try to keep our schedule as consistent as possible. It was important that I really wanted to record today because I will not be around for the rest of the day, or the rest of the week, I should say, because I am moving. More on that in a little bit. But there was a lot of fantastic baseball this weekend. I was at Friday and Saturday of Reds Dodgers, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But we had sweeps, we had mops, we had all kinds of embarrassing stuff and fun stuff around the league. But Jake, before we get to the box scores, oh boy, here we are. This is a pretty, as far as the baseball player getting injured bummer scale, this is pretty high up there. This is very, very, very challenging to think about and talk about, and that is that Ronald Acuña Jr. will not be playing any more baseball this season after tearing his left UCL, and in truly freak fashion. When this happened to him a couple years ago, this was a play where he was ranging back in right field, and of course it was a non-contact play, but it was a situation where, it was more of a play where it's like, okay, yeah, that's a guy where you could imagine a player getting hurt.
He left his feet.
In this case, he was on second base in Pittsburgh on Sunday, and it seems that essentially between pitches, he thought about taking off for third, or at least faking to third, or at least considering an aggressive base running maneuver. But between pitches, it's not during a play.
It was on the throw back from the catcher to the pitcher.
Yep, on the throw back to the catcher. There's no defenders anywhere near him, and he collapses, and he leaves the game. And perhaps most importantly, when he leaves the game, the Braves announce at 2:18 p.m. Eastern, they say Ronald Acuña Jr. was removed from today's game with left knee soreness. Everyone watching that was like, well, that looked a little bit worse than soreness, but we didn't really want to speculate too heavily. We are, of course, all hoping for the best. And then last night,
the Braves just tweeted it out, as Braves, they do.
As they have many times before, around 10 p.m. Eastern. Ronald Acuña tonight underwent MRI that revealed a complete tear of the ACL in his left knee, set to undergo surgery at a date yet to be determined. Will miss the remainder of the 2024 season. Ugh.
Boo.
Ugh.
Boo.
Man. All right, Jake. How did you find out? Did you just see the Braves tweeted out? How did you find out about this?
I am technically was at a bachelor party this weekend in the city of Boston to one of my very close friends is a diehard fan of the Killers. And so the Killers were playing a show here. So we were here in Boston to see the Killers. And yesterday, we were out and about having a good time. And I see the play on my phone. And I said to them, I think Ronald Acuña just really got hurt. If he tore his ACL again, I think I might have to, work. And nothing happened until right before they played the song Human at around 10 p.m. I saw the news on my phone and I was like, that is a bummer. I'm going to just back pocket this information and enjoy the remaining, 20 minutes of this concert. And then move forward from there.
So I had seen the injury. I had the same thought as you. I was doing a bunch of other stuff, obviously, again, preparing to move. I was like, okay, I mentally was bracing for bad news this morning. So that is kind of where I was at.
I saw soreness, dude, when I saw soreness, I was like, I have soreness everywhere all the time,
Right. So I was like, okay, it didn't look good. It's a little ominous. After the game, Acuña spoke and was like, I didn't feel a pop. I didn't it was painful, but it's not that bad, blah, 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 blah. And then I received a text from a friend of ours. I have a group chat with a good friend, Casey, and Jack. And Jack, who you know well, is a big Braves fan. And all Casey sent was 2 words. It just said, "Oh no." There was no link. There was no anything. I hadn't been on Twitter in a couple hours. All the text said was, "Oh no." And that was because, of course, we're talking about the Braves off. I was like, "Oh, this is." Immediately, I was like, "I am going to open Twitter and see the worst possible news about Ronald Acuña Jr." And that's exactly what happened. So thank you, Casey, for breaking the news to me. I will always associate you with this heartbreaking injury. This sucks so much, Jake. This,
yeah. 3 things.
Please go ahead.
This sucks for 3 things.
Yeah, at
3
least
groups,
minimum.
Well, 3 categories.
Yeah,
One,
sure.
And I'm going to start with is Ronald Acuña Jr. Because if you have ever had major surgery and experienced that, you know that the surgery itself sucks, but the rehab process and being unable to do the things that you have grown accustomed to doing, that is a huge component of why it is such a brutal thing. And for Ronald to have to do this all over again on his other leg is such a gut punch for him because, I mean, like, we saw unfettered, complete Ronald Acuña dominance last year. We got a taste of that. And I think, like, for Ronald to have that experience, to be that player, and then now to have to sit out for another season is just devastating. He said publicly that, you know, they won in 21, yes, but he doesn't feel as if it counts for him as a whole ring because he didn't get to play in October. And so it's just sucks, man. And I think that I don't want to get into like what type of player is he going to be when he gets back. However, it is worth noting how, remember, it took him a whole extra year to really return to full Ronald Acuña Jr.-ness after the surgery. Remember all that time it took? And then last year, the whole narrative was, now he's healthy, now he's rolling, this is what it looks like. It just stinks, dude. It's really terrible.
Yeah, and I will say, like, one tiny thing about what he was able to do last year is that while he led the league in steals by a lot, like, he wasn't as fast, right? The speed metrics did show that there was a decline in overall athleticism. I think that also kind of showcased in the outfield. But the kind of player he was still able to be was still so encouraging and so exciting. And we have to hope that he's going to be able to get back to that. But to your point about 2021, that's what really, really hurts, right? It's that Ronald, of course, wants to be one of the best players in baseball. And he showed us that last year. He wins his first MVP. We've seen him do it when he was Rookie of the Year. We saw him do it before that, but he wants to be a champion. He wants to be one of the best players on one of the best teams while they're winning. And the Braves in this window, and hopefully, when he hopefully comes back, will still be in this window where they're competing for World Series. And that doesn't seem that improbable at all, right? But every year with this team is an opportunity to be a part of something special. And now that won't be there, and we'll be watching him on the side again, and that just sucks so much.
Second group of person that loses is the world of baseball, because Ronald Acuña at his best is as good as this sport is, really. Like when he's just driving balls opposite field, full gas swing, everything behind it, and they just carry. When he's stealing a bag, when he's just being, when he's existing, Acuña is special. He's unique. He is captivating. And I feel, I'm not saying like I am the victim, like we should all feel robbed by the baseball gods that we miss out on this. And not only that we miss out on this, but we got it. Like we saw it, he did it last year. And the idea that it will be a long time before we get to see that again, or he may never be that again if he never comes back. The list of guys with surgeries, total surgeries on both legs is very short, right? That is not a particularly encouraging medical scenario, right?
Sure.
So I feel for all the people, like for Braves fans specifically, who this is the guy and they don't get to see the guy be the guy for a long time. Last category.
Yeah.
The Braves themselves, right? This sucks for the team in 2024 that is trying to win a World Series. And I would say that is trying to win a World Series, but is also trying to win the division. The Braves, even before losing Acuña, have really underwhelmed offensively this year. They had the 4th fewest runs in May, above only the Cubs, White Sox, and the Cardinals, I believe. Let me quadruple.
I would guess the Mariners. Just because their offense is sucked that much, but I don't know. And while you're looking at that, David O'Brien tweeted
Cubs. Sorry,
Yeah.
Cubs, White Sox, and Reds.
Reds. Okay. Well, that definitely tracks. But yeah, David O'Brien tweeted out, this was on Saturday. Past 30 days, Braves have 4 of the major's 35 lowest qualified OPSs. Harris, Arcia, Albies, and Acuña was one of them, and Olsen is also at the bottom. Duvall and Kelenic have been struggling. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit later with some of these other teams. Look around the league. Hitting's really hard right now. And you can find every team having issues with the bottom of their lineup, the middle lineup, some of their stars going through this. And before we spin it forward to what I think this means for the Braves, that's the other thing about this Acuña season is what's so frustrating, so disappointing is that he wasn't, didn't look the same, but it was only a matter of time. Players this good, they are all, as long as they are healthy, right? Like it's just time will win out. And they will start playing like one of the best players in baseball, right? We're starting to see that with guys like Julio. We're starting to see that with Vlad Jr. this month. Oh my gosh, has he been amazing? And it's just like after so talent of this level always wins out. And so while it was not the most incredible start for a defending MVP, we were going to get there. And so now that we won't, that really, really sucks.
So for the Braves specifically, right, they've been playing Acuña in right, Harris in center, and then left field has been a Adam Duvall, Jared Kelenic platoon. I would imagine that Duvall probably moves to right field full-time in the short term. Forrest Wall, who's been on the big league roster a lot and has been playing well in AAA, he probably comes up from the minors to take the roster spot. I would be floored if this is their outfield group on August 3rd, right?
Yeah.
In 2021, it's worth remembering, when Acuña went down last time, Alex Anthopoulos, the president of baseball operations, totally reshaped Atlanta's outfield, bringing in Eddie Rosario and Jock Peterson and Jorge Soler. That I don't think he'll do something that drastic and that much of an overhaul, but they have to go get an outfielder. Tommy Pham, welcome to the Atlanta Braves. I would be floored if they don't bring somebody else in externally.
Yeah. I just hope they don't put Ozuna in the outfield. I don't think that's happening. They don't need to mess with that going so well. But yeah, there's no way that Anthopoulos is going to sit on his hands. I don't really want to go through. I mean, Pham is a good one, right? We're not going to survey the whole trade landscape now. There's varying levels of, do they swing big for something? Do they go short term? But the point is internally not a ton of options, right? I mean, you're hoping you're getting more consistent production from Kelenic, from Duvall, and I guess that's possible. Of course, it's been really not awesome so far for Kelenic, but he's shown flashes, and maybe with a little bit more consistent runway, he can heat up. But whatever, it doesn't matter. There's no replacing Acuña. It's that simple. They did it as well as you possibly could imagine in 2021, but replicating that again is going to be extremely challenging. So we will see. The Braves certainly have. Riley has also been out, so Sean
Murphy's back.
Sean Murphy is working back, which is good. But yeah, I mean they're 6 games out, right? So this at least is going to make that chase of the Phillies a little bit more difficult.
And it's not that complicated. Like if the Braves don't do it, they lost maybe the best hitter and the best pitcher in the sport,
right?
In the same year, arguably. Yeah. Like if the Braves don't win the division or don't make the playoffs, like no one is at fault except for the misfortune of the baseball gods. Yeah. And I think that's a bummer. I do still think this team is more than talented enough to make the playoffs. Yep. They will be in the playoffs. I do think the odds of the Phillies winning the division get higher by the day.
Yep.
And Acuña's injury, even like you said, he hadn't showcased it yet, but it just felt like a heater was lurking around the corner. Now it will not come. Mm-hmm. The road just got a lot bumpier for the Atlanta Braves. All right, anything else on Acuña, Jordan, or do you want to move on?
No, let's get to the baseball and then have some good times with it, because there were a lot of baseball that happened this weekend. Do we want to talk about the Braves? I mean, do you want to get that?
Yeah, let's just talk about the series quickly. Yeah. The Pirates, who embarrassed themselves in 2 late inning losses against San Francisco in the middle of the week, just pretty soundly kicked the Braves' butt on Friday. Remember what I said, another injury thing for the Braves is worth noting. They brought up A.J. Smith-Shawver for his first start of the season. During the middle of the week, he looked really good. Then he hit the IL. He's going to be out for a couple of months. And then on Friday night, they did a spot start from Ray Kerr, who they traded for over the offseason. First career start for Ray Kerr, and it just went exactly how you'd expect. he just was throwing so many fastballs down the middle of the plate. And the Pirates, as bad as they are relatively, they're adults. And they put up a ton of runs.
Yeah, and it's like, I know you have Reynaldo Lopez. We could just turn any reliever to starter. Not that they're expecting to get 20 starts out of Raker. I know it's a spot start. It's a tough spot. But, like, that's a tough situation to be in. And then on Saturday, Mitch Keller just dominated, right? Mitch Keller's, I know they didn't have to deal with Skeens or Jared Jones, but that was enough for the Pirates to win the series. They bounced back on Sunday with a nice win. But, yeah, so still, Braves losing a series to the Pirates. That's the kind of situation. Okay, we don't need to overreact to it. But that's another series where you think they could maybe gain ground with Philadelphia, where they lose a series in Colorado, and they don't do that, right? So those piling up is going to make it harder for the Braves. Again, not super panicking, but it super sucks for them, and they're definitely going to have to pick it up offensively. The guys there that are not Ronald Acuña and are healthy, and I think they will do that because they are very talented. And that is what they do. All right, Jake, let's get to the mops and the sweeps. Let's begin with your Baltimore Orioles. Fresh off of getting swept for the first time in over 2 years, how do the Orioles respond? You say Jake's got a mop right here with us if you're watching on YouTube. Jake brought the mop to the party. I don't know if there were any mops in the stands at Guaranteed Rate on Sunday, but there sure should have been because the Baltimore Orioles, the definitive taking care of business mop to get rid of that Cardinals, that sour taste from the weird Cardinals series and say, we're one of the best teams in baseball. You're one of the worst teams in baseball. Let's win 4 in a row. Sure, it began with that stupid interference call on Thursday, but then Cowser robs a homer, Gunner's homering. We got the Ryan O'Hearn's going ham. It was Kyle Bradish. I mean, listen, again, White Sox stink. That's fine. Kyle Bradish looking better than last year after we all thought he was done for the season is wild. It is wild.
The White Sox didn't play that bad in this series. They didn't.
By White Sox standards, I agree. Despite, Pedro Grifol saying on Sunday, we look, effing flat and, whatever. Like,
this was fine, dude.
This was a solid effort. They
did not embarrass themselves at all.
No.
And so what was bizarre, and like Orioles good, Yankees good, they'll be neck and neck all year. Great. I want to really focus on what's going on in Chicago. So after the game, the White Sox lose the finale 4-1, and in the post-game chat with Grifol, he basically just calls out the lineup in its entirety and says, like you mentioned, they're effing flat. And then they go to the players and they say, your manager said you were flat, and all the players. I gotta say, credit to the players. Corey
Lee literally hit him with "That's just like your opinion, man."
Opinion, man.
Like he said that, which this is a really interesting dynamic because it's like normally, when players say, "Oh, everyone's entitled to their opinions," they're talking about like outside noise or opposing players or whatever.
Not your boss.
Not your boss. And so again, this is like, with Grifol, it's weird because yes, we've kind of criticized. Like, listen, dude, you got to understand the context of the season. It's like you have been built to fail. That doesn't mean that you should try to lose. And you want to give it your best, and you want your players to give their best. But like they are giving their best, and they're just not as good as the other teams. And so you can't at some point, especially in a weekend like this where they play 3 close games and compete. And you fall flat on Sunday because at some point you're facing one of the best pitchers in the world and you're ill-equipped to do anything about it. Whatever. It happens. Like, move on.
I love this quote that, who gave it? Oh, Danny Mendick. Everything in here between the guys is great. They threw some good arms at us and sometimes it doesn't go our way. Struggles happen and I think we're just going to have to keep grinding, keep a positive mindset and go out there and give it our all, see what happens. Good job, Danny Mendick.
Brother.
10 points to Gryffindor. That's from James Fagan's recap of the game. And it's like the players in the clubhouse understand that they're not very good, right? They get that. And they're out there doing their best with what they have. And Grifol just feels completely detached from reality. And it must be incredibly frustrating as a White Sox fan. I did not think he would get canned when the season started. I feel like we have a pathway to that now just because he has handled this in such an odd fashion and has seemingly lost the room so definitively and quickly already that I think this could get uglier and the discord could only grow as they continue to lose.
Yeah.
And he gets more frustrated and the players are doing their best and they're like, we're out here doing our best, man.
Right.
So it's unfortunate, but White Sox fans, you've been down weirder roads before.
That's true. Because it does feel like there are managers that are more equipped to embrace and make the most of this situation. And that does not appear to be what is happening.
Dude, we've talked about this. Mark Kotsay in Oakland is like, is killing it, dude.
Yes.
That dude is a good manager, and we'll find out one day down the road.
Probably not.
Let's move on. Probably not in Oakland. Let's move on. We had 2 sweeps, the Guardians over the Angels. We did a whole podcast on the Royals, but we hate the Guardians. We hate Cleveland. So we will never talk about them. So let's just skip over that and talk about the Reds and the Dodgers. So
yes. Let's do that.
You were at 2 of these games, Reds, Dodgers.
Yep.
No, I'm kidding. Let's do the Guardians.
Let's do Guardians.
The Guardians.
A W9? Let's have a conversation. Let's do it.
Let's talk about it.
Now,
do you know the last time? You know the last time they had a W9?
It was a lot. I believe it was a lot longer than a W9.
Yeah.
Is that I assume that's what you're referring to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, it's the Angels, bad baseball team. One of the worst baseball teams at home we've seen in years. But this is what good teams do. They handle their business. We just said about Baltimore, and Cleveland is on a 9-game winning streak. Now, because the Royals were on a concurrent winning streak, they haven't gained that much ground in the division. However, when you're 35-17 with a first-year manager, 36-17, with a first-year manager, you deserve some love. Jose Ramirez, Jake, right now is on a heater of all heaters. He has more home runs than strikeouts over his last 12 games. In fact, he almost had another home run on Sunday, and Joe Adell robbed him. So he's still feeling it. This is my favorite Jose Ramirez stat. He is averaging 1 RBI per game. He has 52 RBIs in 52 games. That is unbelievable. That is something you really only see at like the college level. You will sometimes see some college players averaging an RBI game. That is just an astounding statistic. And it shows that like Jose Ramirez is like, oh, you don't think this lineup is deep enough? That's fine. Oh, Stephen Kwan got injured on the day that this hot streak started. That's not a coincidence either. He's like, yeah, I got it. What did we just say about Acuña, right? Talent will win out. And Jose Ramirez is one of the most talented baseball players on the face of the earth. His early struggles were mostly BABIP driven, but it wasn't always looking great. And now it's just like both sides of the plate, he is marvelous. He's one of the best players in the world. That is why Cleveland will probably always be relevant as long as they have competent pitching and a player like him. And while like the truth is, a lot of this lineup still isn't very good, it's enough. Josh Naylor has elevated to one of the best first basemen in baseball. David Fry has been amazing. Andres Jimenez has been much more reliable as an offensive player at the top of the lineup. And beyond that, and Stephen Kwan was killing it before he got hurt. That's enough. That's enough in this division. Yeah. They have a superstar. Their bullpen is awesome, and they deserve some love for sure.
I want to dig into them a little bit more on Wednesday. Yeah. But you can't – I don't know if we can keep saying in this division – I don't know if we can keep saying that because the AL Central.
No, that's true. That's true. You're right. I think that's a good point.
I think we have to wait a couple more weeks before definitive ruling, but I just want to put that in the back of your mind. Let's chat about Reds and Dodgers. Reds taking all 3 games against LA. The Reds were 10 games under 500 heading into the series at home against the Dodgers. But when I asked around in baseball to people, like the last couple of weeks, I was like, okay, we have all these mid teams in the NL. Who do you believe in the most over the long run? And people say the Reds. People kept saying the Reds, even as the offense continued to sputter and they continued to fall further and further under 500. This series was a statement, a loud shout that the Reds are alive with the sound of music. Game 1, they go down. Jonathan India, go ahead, grand salami in the City Connect uniforms to beat the Dodgers on Friday night. Great pitching performances on Saturday and Sunday from Hunter Green, and then the whole bullpen kind of very odd. To
Yep.
bullpen game the Dodgers on a Sunday is just so
To beat
hilarious to me.
Yamamoto, and they had a rain delay in between, which helped and hurt in some ways. Yeah, so I was at the Friday and Saturday games, and the Reds have just had an astonishing winning percentage. When I've been to the building, I feel like they've had so many dramatic City Connect wins. And then on Saturday, just a really decisive performance. I think Hunter Green has very quietly started to become what we're kind of hoping to see from him. And it's really kind of amazing to me that he hasn't gotten more, because it's always been just slightly below what we've been hoping for, right? So to call him a disappointment would absolutely be a stretch. But since he hasn't quite gotten to that level of like total dominance for someone averaging 98 miles an hour, we've been a little bit wary to go all in on the Hunter Green as an ace train. But like, man, really impressive performance from him. And yeah, I mean, the Dodgers bats are asleep right now. We can get into that in a little bit, but this was a massively important series for the Reds, one that still has them, a game and a half back of the Pirates. They're still in last place in the Central, but it's still 7.5 back of first, right? I mean, it's still a very, very compressed division. As expected, it is still the flattest division in baseball between, the top and the bottom. So there is an opportunity for them to get back in it, and I hope that that would happen. That's what happens, because considering what happened last year, and this was about the time last year that they really started to pick it up. That was because they had these young players coming up in McLean and Ellie and everything. They don't really have that this year. Hopefully Noelvi Marte will come back from his suspension and play well. But McLean, I'm not expecting back anytime soon. They're going to need some of these veterans to start hitting. They need to find some right-handed bats that they can really trust. Candelario's really inconsistent. India has not really been awesome until this weekend. So they have struggled offensively, but the pitching is in place for them to get back in this. And I think that is definitely was a good reminder of that this weekend. So credit to them.
About 8 wild turkeys just walked by where I'm sitting.
I had a feeling. I was like, I think you're seeing a wild animal. I'm like pretty certain the look on your face was an unexpected animal just walked past your Airbnb. So I'm glad that was validating. I appreciate it.
Just wanted to
if you
share
want
that.
Go back and watch on YouTube, Jake's eyes go very big. I'm like pretty sure that's what happened.
I was like, that's a lot of turkeys. The Dodgers have lost 5 in a row for the first time since 2019. Let me tell you how worried I am. Not. It's fine. It's okay. They're still really good. I don't really want to dwell on them too much right now. They're the Dodgers.
I wrote 900 words yesterday, just being like, hey, it's bad, but also a lot of teams are bad right now. And also this team has never been, this era of Dodgers baseball, never has a bad stretch in the regular season derailed them. It has never happened. It is not that they lost 11 games in a row in September of 2017. Okay. Like, this team is going to be just fine. They need to get Muncy back. They need to get Evan Phillips back. There are some problems on this roster. They are still an outstanding team, just as we said about Atlanta earlier. So not concerned.
Big series coming up for Cincy against St. Louis this week. Cincy has played only 3 division games so far this year. We've talked about the very bizarre imbalanced scheduling. That's going to start to even itself out as the season goes along. One more series, and then we'll take a break. The Tigers taking 3 of 4 over the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays look outstanding on Thursday in the opener. Vibes are good. And then boom, boom, pow. The Tigers just jumping all over the Blue Jays. The Sunday game was outrageous. A 14-11 dub for Detroit. Matt Vierling, friend of the program, 2 ding-dongs, including a walk-off 3-run blast for Detroit. They're not as good as Kansas City, and they're not as good as Cleveland, but all they got to do is just stay in the mix right now until things change. Yeah,
and that Sunday game felt like a Sunday game that we have in the college baseball.
In college,
Sunday, all bets are off in terms of the pitching. And, we see a combined 14 pitchers in this game, 13 pitchers in this game. And the Blue Jays come back. They were down by a ton. They come back. They take the lead. You think they're going to salvage the series. And instead, they allow 5 runs in the 8th and the 9th. Jordan Romano hangs a slider to Vierling, who gives the Tigers their first walk-off win of the season. Only 2 teams left without a walk-off win. One of them is the Angels, who have 4 home wins all year. And the other is, ironically, the Blue Jays, who could really use a walk-off win to feel a little bit better about now. Because here's the thing about this Blue Jays team, because when we've been frustrated with them in recent years, or recent months and recent years, we're like, oh, let's look at this offense. It's not performing to its capabilities. Yeah, that's true. But honestly, right now, the pitching staff is not good. Not only is the starting rotation underwhelming, the bullpen is downright just bad. And that is losing them games. Vlad Jr. has been one of the best hitters of baseball in May. Bo's been better. Dalton Varsho looks awesome. Like, they're scoring some runs, and they cannot prevent them right now. They are going to the White Sox this week. If they cannot win this, and then the Pirates after that, if they cannot pick up some wins here, we're heading towards some very difficult conversations about this season, about John Schneider, about the front office, about the direction, about Bo and Vlad and all these things. So this is a massive week ahead for the Blue Jays. As for the Tigers, as you said, they're still hanging around the mix, still under 500, but the pitching there is also good enough to where they should hang. I mean, again, that offense is really, really still not great, but Torque has just been hitting better, which has been nice to see. And yeah, they're fine. They're totally fine. I don't think they're going to make the postseason, but they're fine.
Big winner, Shohei Ohtani. Didn't get on that plane to Toronto.
Man, so close. So close. All right, Jake, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we'll run through the rest of the series across the league. All right, we'll be right back on Baseball Barbacast.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. Jake Mintz, Jordan Shusterman. Let's begin actually with a bizarre two-gamer we had. Cardinals-Cubs. Rain out on Friday. That game's going to be played later on this season. So St. Louis and Chicago, these longtime rivals, played a very miniature set at Busch Stadium in St. Louis that the Cardinals definitively took. And by definitive, I mean they won each game by 1 run. But the Birdos are hot. Yes. They have won 10 of their last 12. They've won 5 in a row. They are back in the mix. And more importantly than that, the energy, the atmosphere, the aura of St. Louis Cardinals baseball was back at the ballpark over the weekend. The Lou City Connect jerseys did it all. No, they certainly looked good. I got to say, I'm still a fan no matter what Mason Wynn thinks. But to see the yard packed and buzzing and full.
Beating the Cubs.
Like, the Cardinals at their best have this inevitability to them where it's like, they're going to win. Duh, they're the Cardinals. And they haven't had that in a while. And it felt like that in moments, in spurts against the Cubs. They're down late on Saturday, and they just storm back with a barrage of runs, and it just smells right again. Paul Goldschmidt, who looked beyond washed, has started to show signs. He has looked a whole lot better. Mason Wynn is the truth.
Yeah,
what a fun player, dude. What a unique watch.
Again, with those rookies coming into the season with Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker, I was way more bullish on Walker. Talked about it in the show. I said, Wynn, listen, if you could just play defense and bat competently in the 9-hole, that's great. He's been so much more than that. Such a fun watch, such a fun defender, a fun base runner, and a really competent hitter. Really impressive for a 22-year-old shortstop. And by the way, I think we will see Jordan Walker again at some point, this season. I think that's a potentially a big boost that they could get later on the season. Thankfully, and they're going to have Tommy Edman coming back soon too, which is huge. But they've had Alec Burleson is hitting really well. Lars Nootbaar has been outstanding since he got off the injured list. And that is really what is exciting about this Cardinals offense and why I listen, again, I buried them a few weeks ago. I said, I don't think it's going to happen. However, if they come back and get into the mix and make the postseason, I'll feel mildly validated because I was the only one having any sort of optimism about them going into this season. But still a long way to go there. But going to Cincinnati will be a nice test for both of those teams as they go. As you mentioned, looked really good at home. They got a nice long road trip coming up here. I believe a 3-city trip where they go to Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Houston. So they're going to have to keep playing good to keep collecting some wins there. But nice to see the Cardinals playing a little bit better.
All right, let's get into it. 2-1 series. That's usually how a 3-game set breaks down. Giants taking 2 out of 3 over the Mets. They could have swept it, but the Mets walk off San Francisco on Sunday. If it feels like the Mets are walking off quite often, well, you're right. They've won 11 games at Citi Field. They have walked off 5 of those. That is courtesy of Tim Healy, friend of the program. The Dodgers are headed to Queens today. I will be there tomorrow and on Wednesday. Very bizarre goings on. The Mets are they're the team in that, like, in the NL muck I have the least faith in. And they're just not, I just don't think they're that interesting.
Yeah.
And that is almost worse. Right.
And hard to believe, right? I mean, that's you would not usually say that about the Mets, but I think I agree with you. They're okay. I feel similar about them as the Tigers. They're just, double the payroll. So it's a little bit of a difference.
Quintuple.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very different vibe with different expectations, but it's just Edwin, another blown save. But Bader, I mean, talk about a legacy game on Sunday. What Harrison Bader did was absolutely massive for them. So Giants, though, hey, it's a nice series win. They're climbing their way back in it. They've looked better recently.
Matt Chapman is awake. Yeah. I'm telling you, he's awake.
Oh my God. The play he made to end the game on Saturday or Friday, I think Saturday. Oh my God. Holy crap. I don't care what the defensive metrics say. He still makes plays at third that only he can.
The high-low ends of Matt Chapman's game are so fun. You could watch him play for 4 weeks and be like, why is he in the majors? And then you could see him for 4 days, and this is the greatest player I've ever seen with my eyes. Yes. Nationals taking 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. Yeah. Very bizarre series loss for them.
Yes.
Julio looks awake.
It's finally, there's been flashes. I probably said this a couple weeks ago. He is hitting the ball hard. He's hitting the ball over the fence. He's hitting the ball hard to the opposite field. He is no longer swinging at horrible first pitches. That is very nice. The Mariners pitching cannot be perfect all the time. And that is what we've learned as you drop the series to the Nationals, but they salvage it on Sunday in a game where it looked like they were going to blow it again when C.J. Abrams hit a go-ahead home run. But ultimately, they were able to score against the Nats bullpen and put up more runs than I've seen them score in quite a while. So that was nice to see from them. They have a huge series, 4-game set at home against the Astros starting tonight, which will really clarify a lot for both of those teams. Nationals, they're fun. They're not great, but they're fun, and they are capable of ruining your favorite team's day.
Brewers over the Red Sox. Milwaukee taking the first 2 games of this set. I was at the Friday night game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Jordan, first time in years I've gone to a ball game on a ticket and had a few. And got to say,
feels good, man.
Feels good, man. I don't want to sound elitist, but the view from the press box is better in most parts.
Yep.
This is just so schmucky, but watching a game like deep down the right field line, I was like, I can't see anything.
No, that's where you sit when you yell at the umps. Even though you can't see anything, it's very, very liberating.
I had a delightful time. The Sedan Rafaela, phenomenal catch. William Contreras is incredible. He went big deep in that game. But the fun thing from this series, what are you laughing at me?
What happened on Sunday? It's
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
There are 2 amazing things about this. Okay, the Brewers bunt a few times in a close game, and Chris Martin is apparently angry about it, and he starts chirping at Quentin Berry, the first base coach of all time. They get into it, bench is clear, whatever. The first thing is, which Chris Cotillo tweeted out, is that this bench is clearing incident, which was one of the dumbest ever, because again, it's Chris Martin getting mad about bunting in a close game, is we had the Netflix crew in the thick of it. And Jake, you've mentioned this because you've been around the Red Sox this year. They're everywhere, right?
You see them. Oh yeah.
They are there. And so will this, but this is the question, will this fracas in this series loss against the Brewers over nothing, no punches were thrown, it's Chris Martin and Quentin Berry, like, will this make it? Will we see this scene in the, like, this doesn't, it's so silly. Like, I guess if this like sparks the Red Sox, right?
We'll see something from this. It might be in the hype video.
Oh, yeah.
A cut of one of them. Oh, you can't do that. Right. We'll get something like that.
My favorite part, though, is after the game, Pat Murphy says this, Brewers manager Pat Murphy gives this quote. I'm not going to speculate about what the kid was doing, but if you're staring at somebody, it could be interpreted that you're saying it to them. If you're going to yell at us and say something and make it personal, we're going to stand up for ourselves. Stand up for ourselves.
The kid.
Chris Martin turns 38 next week.
Not only that, he looks old as just looks so freaking old too.
Jaron Duran post-game interview repeatedly referred to Chris Martin as Big Rig, which Chris Martin 6'7", 6'8", and yeah, he's
Great
like an
name.
old-looking grumpy guy. So, but Pat
The
Murphy,
kid.
I guess everyone's a kid to Pat Murphy. Brewers take the series over the Red Sox. Yankees taking the series over the Padres. Soto looks great. Aaron Judge is now very rapidly back atop the OPS leaderboard. He has been the best hitter in baseball over the last few weeks. He looks amazing. Padres squeezing one out on Sunday. Joe Musgrove looking much better, much better. And the Padres bullpen, which has been sneaky excellent recently. Robert Suarez has been amazing, but Jeremiah Estrada has emerged as one of the great strikeout bullpen arms in our league. That was a really impressive showing from them. You know, the offense was really not super awesome for the Padres during the series, but that's fine because I guess the bullpen's good enough, and the Yankees are still one of the best teams in baseball. They look great. Their pitching is marvelous.
I agree. Their run prevention has always been good for years now, and Matt Blake should get $700,000.
Yes,
He probably makes more than that.
So watch some college
He's just
team.
so good.
Some college team is going to just like poach. Some SEC team is going to manage to pay Matt Blake more than the Yankees. He's going to go. He's going to go turn like Missouri or whatever into some amazing pitching factory. Couple others left. We have the Twins taking 2 or 3 over the Rangers. Corey Seager, I know I called him out on our Good Bad Ugly a couple weeks ago. He has been outstanding recently. Rest of the Rangers, not so much. They are starting Jose Urena, and they called up Gerson Garabito for his major league debut, who looked very good. Credit to him. Urena hasn't even been that bad, but that is the state of the Rangers pitching staff right now. Robertson blew a save over the weekend, and the Twins, a nice series there. Rangers, again, just can't get an actual hot stretch going. It's
Poke
just,
with a stick.
Come on.
They're
not a bad team, but I don't know if they're a good team, and we need to see if they can actually do that sometime soon. Another team that, again, I'm waiting to see if they can really prove it against good competition is the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays welcome Kansas City into town, and they're wearing their City Connects, and the Royals are like, we don't care. The Royals take the first 2. Michael Wacha carries a perfect game into the 6th inning on Sunday before the Rays kind of squeak one out late. But the Royals just keep on winning series, man. They Bobby Witt even homers again on Sunday. The one positive news with Tampa Bay, Taj Bradley has made a few starts since he came back. We were very high on this guy coming into the season. He got hurt right before the year. He's one of the youngest starting pitchers in baseball. He looks tremendous. He's throwing hard. His off-speed stuff is fantastic. He's throwing strikes. That is a starter for them. Now, again, this rotation has been pretty disappointing. I think we're kind of this is part of why I was really optimistic about them, is I really liked what Zach Eflin was last year. He has not been the same. Savali has been very disappointing. Zach Littell has been solid. Pepiot has been solid, but this has not been a strength. The pitching staff has not been a strength for Tampa Bay, but Taj Bradley looks like he can help push them back in that direction.
The Rockies taking 2 out of 3 over the Phillies at home in Colorado. The Phillies were so hot. There's no better place to cool off than the snowy mountains of Denver.
I could have seen this coming from a mile away. The Phillies rolling in on this huge winning streak. Oh, of course, they're going to keep it going. Here comes another 3 wins. And by the way, same exact thing can be said about Cleveland, who shows up in Colorado this week. It's like, they've won 9 in a row, and now they get to go play Colorado. Oh, it'll be 12 in a few minutes. Okay, we'll see. I will honestly be very impressed if Cleveland can make it back home this weekend. Without losing a couple games, because this is just what happens in Colorado, man. It's just weird stuff. It's happens.
Weird,
and it's a little disappointing for the Phillies, but whatever. They're fine. They're one of the best teams in baseball.
Happy birthday to Garrett Stubbs, who had an unbelievable game on Saturday night. Just bopping around everywhere. Hits the go-ahead single. He stole third base at one point on the throwback from the pitcher. What Ronald Acuña, this is actually like what Ronald was trying to do when his leg exploded.
Yeah.
Like Garrett somehow did it.
Yeah.
Just hilarious. What a hilarious player.
Yeah. And then they win what was it on Friday, right? Was the 14 inning game or something?
Yeah.
Or I guess I was just 11. But yeah, Rockies, Tovar's been really good. That is another
Really
encouraging side for the Rockies, is he really does look like a franchise shortstop. But whatever, the Rangers Suarez takes his first L of the season. He was 9-0 before Sunday. Still looked really good, but it's Colorado. You're going to lose probably.
Do you smell that, by the way?
What is it? What is that? I can't.
I think someone put tilapia in the microwave because we've got hot fish, baby. The Miami Marlins have won 7 out of 10, taking 2 out of 3 from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jordan Shusterman, I watched none of this series. I don't know anything that happened. I wish everyone the best.
The Marlins winning 7 of 10 is significant because, remember, they won 7 of their first 31. So this is a very nice sign for them. Here's what you need to know about this series. Braxton Garrett threw a Maddox on Friday against Zach Gallen, and Ryan Weathers was also amazing. He has really been one of their best.
He's been great.
And as a reminder, that with all of their pitchers that have gotten hurt, this still is a ridiculously talented pitching staff that could end up with Ryan Weathers going to the All-Star game, right, or whatever. Like, there is still that in place. It's a reminder that Arizona, another team with a lot of talented hitters that are scuffling. But I'm just happy for how miserable the Marlins have been. I was just mentioning the Padres because they're going to San Diego this week. Good.
The sun comes out. The sun comes out.
I'm happy for Skip.
And he gets to go home to San Diego this week and see. I believe his family lives there, and he was there forever.
True.
Good for Skip.
Good.
Last series, Astros taking 2 out of 3 from the Oakland A's. Everything is right with the world. Kyle Tucker up to 18 home runs. Jose Abreu is returning this week in Seattle, so pray to the baseball gods above that we don't see the further demise of a hero.
Yeah, I don't know what this is going to look like. It would not surprise me if he comes back and homers off Bryce Miller tonight. It would not surprise me if he goes for Hey, Jose, we really want you to come back, get your confidence up. How about you go to Seattle where it's impossible to hit and face Bryce Miller, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, and Logan Gilbert?
Does that work? Are you free?
Good? Sound good?
Good news is you don't have to face Brian Wood.
Who's been the best one, apparently, of the best of the 5. So kind of weird timing, I guess, but he can't just hang out in Palm Beach forever. They're paying him a lot of money. So we're rooting for Jose Abreu. We like Jose Abreu. But as I mentioned, a massive 4-game series coming up for Houston, for Seattle, because, listen, the Mariners have been in first place for a little bit now. They are only 3.5 up on the Astros. So here we are. We could get to the beginning of June, and the Astros, who were 6-19, whatever it was, they could be back in first place. Obviously, part of me is hoping that is not the case, but it would not shock me whatsoever. Good time to mention also quickly, there are 3 other 4-game sets, some opportunities starting this week. The Royals are in Minnesota, the Nationals are in Atlanta, and the most exciting one, Jake, is the return of Craig Counsell to Milwaukee for a 4-game set between the Cubs and the Brewers. That will be very interesting. Very important series for the Cubs because, by the way, we should have mentioned this when we were talking about the Cardinals. Jake, the Cubs are only 1 game up on St. Louis.
Just take a deep breath. You're 100% correct. And I, as someone who picked the Cubs, am confused and worried. Jordan, I'm going to predict right now that someone in Milwaukee in the crowd has a big sign that says ass on it for Craig Counsell's return, to reference the vandalism on the sign at Craig Counsell's high school that said ass. We will see an ass sign.
Okay. Will we see it on TV?
AmFam.
We'll see. But that's huge because, again, positive thing is the Cubs are only 3.5 back of Milwaukee. Gained some ground there. But for this is what a week in the NL Central with St. Louis and Cincinnati and Chicago and Milwaukee. All right, Jake, enough Major League Baseball. We have one more topic, and that is the Birmingham Southern Panthers.
Are they in that NL Central?
They're in the SAA. For those unfamiliar, the Southern Athletic Association. They are, or they were.
They were. Let's just get this out of the way. Jake Mintz and Jordan Shusterman both went to Division III baseball schools. We love Division III baseball. I played it. Jordan followed it. For years, we did a Division III baseball podcast on the side for fun. This year is the first time that we didn't do it because of this beautiful new job. here at Yahoo, we are very busy. I'm getting married. Jordan is moving. We didn't have the bandwidth for it. And boy, oh boy, did we pick one crappy time to not be completely in on Division III baseball, because the Birmingham Southern Panthers, this unbelievably beautiful story, has crossed over into the mainstream. Who are the Birmingham Southern Panthers? The Birmingham Southern College was a school in Birmingham, Alabama, a private school that is closing. It has closed. It no longer exists. It shut its doors. This is a problem that is happening to a lot of smaller schools across the country with enrollment being down. But just because the school is gone doesn't mean the baseball program is over, because their season goes past the close of the school year, in this case, the final school year. And the important context to understand here is that Birmingham Southern has been a juggernaut powerhouse MFer in Division III baseball for like 20 years.
Yeah,
okay?
Right. I mean, they've been, right,
they
so
were
NAIA, they were, but
right,
since they've been in D3, they have been a powerhouse.
There's an argument, in fact, that they, over the last 15 years, are the best Division III baseball program without a championship.
Yes.
They have never won a Division III World Series. And so this year, Birmingham Southern has stampeded all the way to the Division III World Series, which starts this week outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Very convenient for Jordan Shusterman, who is moving over there this week. Okay. And so we have this story, the team without the school.
Yes.
It is unbelievably lovely. It is sad. It is heartwarming. It is why baseball can be, and sports in general can be, a galvanizing, meaningful thing for people, and are, we're rooting for them. You got to root for the Panthers.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, but that's important context, and that's what we hope to bring you as Division III baseball experts, is that it is both funny but also kind of cool that they are now the underdog. Because for a while, this is the team that we were like, oh, this is the year they got to win it. This team is loaded. Here they are again. I'm wearing my 2022 D3 Super Regional shirt. Birmingham Southern's there. They were in the World Series in 19. They were in the World's. Like, this is an incredible program. They've come so close. But this year, they started off slow. And even though we knew that they were maybe heading towards this sad ending for the institution, it was like, are they actually going to even have the opportunity to get this far? And that is what makes the story even more special, is that it didn't look like they were necessarily in position to go on this run again. And they win the regional. They beat the number 2 team in the country in Denison on the road this past weekend. And now they head to Cleveland, where I am hoping to be in attendance for some of those games. They're facing off against Salve Regina, the other team I'm rooting for the most because I'm tight with their head coach. But I am very excited to see this story continue. It is very funny to see Division III baseball cross over into the mainstream. And so while I do, want to be a mega D3 hipster and start shouting out all the players who were awesome from 2016 to 2019, I am just happy for this program. But yeah, I mean, Jake, like you literally pitched at Birmingham Southern your senior year.
Yeah.
Like this is not like some distant thing. Like, this is a program that is not just very accomplished, but very well respected within, the upper, elite tier of Division III baseball. Their head coach, Jan Weisberg, and all their assistants and players that have gone through that program. It's a team that I think people want to see succeed in now more than ever. So I don't know if I will be for sure at their game on Friday. We will see. If the Guardians return home on a 12-game winning streak, I will probably go check them out. However, I am looking forward to, I will probably end up seeing both, because that is the last bit of news here that we can close on, is that I am moving, Jake. I've been living in Richmond, Indiana for the last 2 years because my wife is a college professor and she has been that here. Now she is going to be doing that at Oberlin College in Oberlin, Ohio. I'm very excited for her. I'm very excited for us. I'm very excited to be back in Northeast Ohio, where I went to college at the College of Worcester. And yeah, I'm going to be around the Guardians a lot more than the Reds. It has been awesome being around the Reds in Cincinnati as my de facto local ballpark over the last 2 years. It is a ballpark I had never been to before I went there for the first time in 2022. And now it's maybe the ballpark I've been to more than any other ballpark in my life, which is very strange to think. But it has been nice to be hanging out in Cincinnati, but I'm excited to be around Cleveland for the foreseeable future. And also the home of the Division III World Series, which is moving there from Cedar Rapids for the first time this year. So catch me at Progressive Field. Catch me in East Lake at the D3 World Series this weekend. I will be busy moving over the next 4 days, so I will not be on the podcast on Wednesday and Friday, but Jake will be here. So thank you for covering. I will be back next week. We will see if Birmingham Southern is still alive next Monday. But either way, we thank you all for listening to this Monday Memorial edition of Baseball Barbacast. Thank you to Andrew Hartz for producing. Thank you all for listening and supporting this show. And I will talk to you all next week. And Jake will talk to you all on Wednesday with someone to be determined. You can email us at baseballbarbacast@gmail.com. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye.